What's up, guys? Alicia Castaic here once again with our low poly sword model. I finally figured out in the last video what my technical difficulties have been. I've been pressing my numpad minus key, which for gaming purposes I usually have bound as my recording start stop button. So I'm gonna have to keep that in mind as we progress through this, but I don't think we're gonna need the minus key this today. We are currently going to be working on texturing this sword. You can see that the texture that I have here looks a little bit different than in the last episode, and that is simply because I took it out of Blender. I saved it as an external image, and I put it up into I put it into GIMP. It was really easy. Just filled in all the color with a flat color, so we had a nice simple base. The baking that we did in the last episode was simply to establish this baseline of what kind of color goes where. So if we were to select our model and hit tab, you can see that we have all of our UVs here. And what this shows us is it simply shows where all of our lines are for the model. Now, one of the ones that I'm slightly concerned about is this face right here, which is this one. You can see that it's highlighted, but it's still got kind of this white line around it. That's because it's also this one here. Now, I have a funny feeling that for whatever reason, these UVs got flipped upside down, which is why we had that black line there at the top. That should have been from down here, because part of our model, if we switch to wireframe, you can see that part of the model is actually inside of the guard. And that's simply to avoid extra seams and things like that. We have a similar thing happening sort of kind of right down here. It's very, very minor, I believe. It's not even happening. They're touching, but they aren't actually merged together. But that's fine. We can work with that. If we go back to our material view here, we can see all of the colors, no shading or anything like that. We just got simple colors to the weapon. And if we go into the node editor, you can see that we don't need this node anymore. We can go ahead and delete that. You can see that for my blade, we're going to rename this now to sword. You can see that we only have one material now, whereas before we had 3 different ones. And the way that I did that was I simply went into the node editor. After joining the model, I removed the other 2 materials, and on one of them I just switched it to having the image texture connected to the color node, and that allowed me to use our imager for the textures. Since everything was already aligned with the UVs, it was simple and direct. We're going to go ahead and rename this to sword textures. That's fine. I'm not great with naming, so don't worry about it. Alright. So I'm just going to show you a couple of basic things for painting. We're going to go into texture paint mode. And if I remember rightly, that's just for masking. It's going to be a little bit difficult for me to do this, but you can see here we actually have an outline of the UVs for every single part on this model. That's really, really handy, because sometimes when you're painting here, you're like, where's the edge? And then you come over here and you see that you were just painting, and all of a sudden you're painting way over here. So sometimes that could be a little bad. Over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit T to hide that. And over here, I'm going to extend this side just a little bit. I'm going to drag this up to about there, and we're going to hit T on this side. And what this does is it gives us our we have to go here to view, and we have to go to, no, not mask, paint. And that brings up our brushes and systems for painting our textures, and now we can paint either here or here, and this will translate to either side. That won't matter. Now this is going to be a little bit difficult for me because I am doing this all left-handed. So unfortunately, some of these textures might end up showing up really wonky, but this is just to give you a general idea. And as I'm doing this, one thing I'm going to note really fast is that I'm only going to show you a couple of basic things. I'm going to do kind of like a rivet here on the guard, and I'll show you a little bit of stuff to do on the blade. But for the most part, this video is going to be a time lapse, because once I give you the basics, the rest of it is just repetition. So we're going to go ahead and get started here, and we're going to make the rivet, which hopefully will show up on both sides of the blade. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in here. And before we start, actually, a good thing to do is we're going to go ahead and use this option right here. This is your eyedropper tool. Just select one of the colors and then paint it down here. Just give it a nice splotch like that. That actually didn't do it. Oh, I see. We need to go to add. There we go. Setting it on add allows it to just paint the color itself, I believe. Do we have any other options? Color maybe? No, that's not doing anything. That just doesn't look right to me. It doesn't look like the same color, does it? That might be because, let's just Control Z this. That might be because I had it on mix before. So let's go to add, and we'll just, why is it not painting? What the heck am I doing wrong here? I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, weird. Well, let's see what happens when, let's get the hex code 909090. If we were to do that, do we have the same hex code? Yes, we do. Okay, that's all we need. Let's go ahead and grab this here, and we're going to do another splotch of color, and we're going to do the same thing with our final one right up here. We're just going to paint that right there. What that allows us to do is have our baseline for the original color. So if we want to do a shade variation of one of them, we can just come over here, eyedropper the color, and continue on our merry way. Whoops. So we need the brass color first and foremost. Bam, like that. Okay, so I want this to be just off to the side of the sword. And we're going to keep it on mix for now, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring the brightness of this down to about there. And I think I want the radius a little bit bigger. Nope, too big. About 50, no, let's do 45. That'll work. And then we're just going to kind of wiggle it around a little bit, try and get as even a color as we can. That'll work. Now I'm going to go ahead really fast and go back to a brighter version and just over top of this, like that. Now we have a little ring. You can see it's kind of squished here on this, but that's fine. Now we're going to go full bright, and we're going to get it to about right there. We're going to bring the radius down. We need more than 1 pixel, please. I'm going to zoom in a bit, drag it over, and we're just going to add a little bit of a highlight like this. That's, oh, I see, I have my strength up. Bring your strength down and just give it a little bit of a spritz like that. If you zoom out, you can see it's actually looking pretty decent at the moment. I want to bring the strength down even more because I want it to kind of fade out along the edge of this. That's a bit better. Okay, now we're going to give it a darker color, and we'll do pretty much the same thing on the opposite side. Like So, see if we can blend it a little bit. That's not too bad. Not too bad, but not too, not too great. Let's see. Now, I'm not great with this. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not very good with this. Although, one thing that you can do with this is you could do your basic texturing here and then throw it into a program like GIMP or Photoshop and do your final texturing there, which I'm probably going to do. Let's see. Paint stroke. No. Curve? No. Tiling? No. Good enough for me for right now. It's just the basics. It's just the basics. All right, we're gonna go back to our base color here, here, and here, and we're going to lighten it even more to about there. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna brush along these lines just a little bit to give it a little bit of an edge. So let's go ahead and zoom in down over here. We're going to, nope. I'm going to bring the radius of this down. And let's see how this looks. That looks like it's on the opposite side. It is. It's not too bad. Although I noticed that the line didn't very well. I'm using my left hand once again to do this, so that's better. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the other side and we'll repeat the process. And you can see that it's painting over here at the exact same time. So we got, that's a decent line. Now if we turn this around, look at that. We got it on both sides. Not bad. Okay. Now the reason I did this little bit here is because it actually helps to outline the model just a little bit, which is sometimes nice and sometimes can look really, really bad. So this is as much of a test as it is a tutorial for me. That looks terrible. Better. I believe that there is a way to do straight lines with the paint stroke. If we do line, and we go like that. No. Okay. Let's try. Ha. There we go. That's better. That's much straighter. Okay. Let's get rid of all these other lines and let's just go ahead and do that for the whole thing all the way across. Just because I like the way it looks. Gives it a nice outline on the model itself. Whoops. Hold on. Need to be able to see what I'm doing. Like so, and like so. And then we'll do these parts. Like that. Not too bad. Okay. Obviously we need to get the rivet onto the other side as well, but like again, once we get some of the detail stuff done, a lot of this is just going to end up being a time lapse. I'll show you a couple of small things for when I start doing the wrapping on the handle and things like that, but until then a lot of this is just going to be a time lapse. I'm going to go ahead and do pretty much the same thing. Well, before I do that, because once I start doing that, I'm not going to want to come back to this part of the thing. So let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and grab our base color, which this is unblemished, so it shouldn't be a problem. We're going to get a darker color, pretty much almost black. And I believe that there's a way. I can't remember how to change the brush size. I know there's a way to do it, I just can't remember. And I may not be able to do it with only one hand. So let's bring this down to 6. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a bit of a scratch here. So we're just going to paint a line to start. And we're going to go back to space. And we're just going to a bit like this. Give it a bit more depth. Like so. You can see it's got a nice hard edge there. That's pretty good. Let's go ahead and bump it up like so. Bring the strength down a bit. We're just going to soften those edges. Okay, that actually looks pretty decent. Nice deep nick in the guard. Not too bad. And then I'm going to bring the strength even further down and just lightly paint over the center of it. And there we go. That's a decent little nick. And if you look, it's actually reversed on this side, which is not what we want, and that's what I was afraid of. Okay, so to fix that, we need to select these faces here. And we're going to go into view. And this is just this is a really simple fix. Rotate with R 180, enter. And there we go. All done and dusted. Fixed it, fixed. Okay. So, with that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the guard and the pommel part, and I'll see you guys as soon as I'm done. Now this is going to take me a while, so please bear with me. The time lapse might end up being a bit long, so I'll be as quick as I can. Alrighty. So that actually doesn't look too bad. For some simple hand-painted textures, you can easily export the image now as it is to, say, GIMP or Photoshop. Smooth out these textures, blur the gradients a little bit more to make them look a little bit better. But you gotta one thing you gotta remember is, if you go out of orthographic view, you're gonna be seeing this from, like, if you're using this in a game, you're gonna be seeing it from like here, for the most part. You're hardly ever gonna be able to see too many of the details unless you really zoom in close. You're not gonna see it too much. I like the outline personally on the different edges. You don't have to do that. In fact, something that you can do, something some people do, is if you hit T, you go to this tab here, shading and UVs, you can smooth the faces. And you can see that actually gives it, that actually looks kind of cool. It takes off the hard edge from, well, the edges. And it actually does look really cool with these lines as well, in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and change that back to flat for now, just for the texturing purposes. Now, in the time lapse, you saw that I started to refine my technique a little bit. I would start out dark, and then I would come back over it with a lighter edge, and that kind of blurred the edges a little bit to be able to get some nicer scratch marks. I've seen people kind of exaggerate it with almost complete white around the edge. I think that looks better more on things like blades. But I'm going to show you a little bit of what I intend to do with this, and this is going to be a little difficult for me because we need to basically hatch this to get the effect that we want. So I'm going to continue to use the line. I'm going to go ahead and select my color, and I'm going to darken it quite a bit, to about there. It's yeah, we'll go ahead and increase our radius to 6. Ooh, excuse me. And from this point, what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to go straight across from each of these, and hopefully that'll get us pretty close to having most of the hatch work here. I have to be careful not to go too far over when I'm doing this because I don't want to get too close to my blade color. So let's go ahead and just zoom in a bit here, and you can see on this screen that circle for your painting scales with your zoom. Over here it doesn't, so keep that in mind. Alright, so using the line tool, I'm just going to, basically as flat as I can, do this. Flat as I can. Just bring it across, like so. Keep repeating. And eventually you'll start to see it on that. There, I saw the first one come up. If we turn it around, you could see it's starting to get the hatch work there. This is just simulating a very simple wrap on the handle. And unfortunately, we're going to have a gap, and that's going to be a little bit of an issue, but we'll work with it. Bring this across, again, as flat as you can. Now I'm going way out over on this side because I don't particularly worry about over here. There's nothing really over here to worry about. And don't worry if your lines aren't completely straight. That will actually add to the effect of it seeming to be hand wrapped. And yeah, we have that gap, which I don't like, but we will fix it. Just keep bringing it across until we get everything one more right there. Okay. So, can we do this with a single line? I believe we can. And there we go. Very, very simple hatch work there. Now, I'm going to continue to refine this along the bottom edge of each of these, I believe. I'm going to be doing... Did that work out the way I wanted it to? Pretty darn close. Look at this. This is where the edge of the model is. And you can see very, very close to being perfect. That's fine. For the most part, the handle's going to be held in a hand or something like that, so you don't have to worry about it too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to this, or to somewhere. Let's see if we can find where this is right here. Can we find that point? I'm just going to drag another line. There it is. Okay. So what I'm going to do with this is going to be my practice line here. And I'm going to decrease the strength on this. And I'm going to darken this even more than what it was before. I'm going to start about here now and drag a line across. You see that darkened it a little bit. It's not quite what I want, and it's also too thick. So if I bring that down to 3, let's bring the strength up a little bit more. We'll drag it across this part of the line. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Go ahead and do it one more time. Perfect. All right. Now that is just adding a little bit of extra shading to this line here to kind of blend it in, because that's the bottom of the hatch. Now it's going to get a little bit more complicated as we go up, because what I want to also do is on the other side we are going to have to lighten it a bit. So if we come down over here, drag a line across, you can see that we whitened that part there. Lightened it. So I'm going to do that one more time. Then I'm going to do it one more time a little bit lower. About there. And what that does is it's adding the highlights and the shadows for each of these individual lines to give it a little bit better depth. And I'm going to go ahead and time lapse this part as well, because I got a lot of lines to do, and I will see you on the flip side. All right. So there's the handle all done. Very simple hatch system. You saw in the time lapse I managed to figure out the proper amount of strength and stuff to apply, and I ended up putting little splotches of color all around for me to just quickly grab and continue. Very handy little thing to do, just like what we did down here. So next, the final part is the blade. And this we're probably just going to do straight on camera here because I'm done with time lapses. I'm sorry, but I am. And this is going to be really simple. We're going to add maybe a scratch here and a scratch here, but I want to make sure that this is in the proper spot. So if we quickly go into paint mode here, let's go ahead and grab our gray color. I just want to double check. Yep, okay. Let's lighten that a bit, and we're going to change this to space, and we're going to draw just a quick line. Okay. Alright, we're good. I don't know what that was about the last time where it was black up here but not down here. That was really strange. If I do this, yeah, okay, we're fine. Now really quickly I wanted to show you what this looked like. If we go into edit mode, select everything again, shading, smooth, look at that. Not too shabby if I do say so myself. Alright, tab, flat, and we're going to go straight to texture paint. Okay, we're going to keep this short and simple. I'm going to go back to a line, and I want this to be a fairly thick line. That ought to do. Now, this is going to be slightly difficult for me to accomplish, but we're going to drag this line from here to here. Try and keep it as straight as we can, like so. That gives us that edge there. I'm going to do the same thing up here. Try and keep it on the inside of the edge, if possible, like so. Whoops. Once again, inside edge, like that. Okay. And one more time. We're going to drag it from this end, actually. From there to there. And once again, we still have our 0.208 strength going on. That gives us a simple outline of the sharp of the blade. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have this 0.104, and we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to overlap the line like this. I'm going to try and do half and half, and what that's going to do is it's going to give us a little bit of a gradient between the two edges. Bring it up to here. Once again, and a final time, making sure to keep half and half, like so. Perfect. I like it. All right. Whoops. Okay, so that's that part of the blade done. Now I want to get a center line going down the middle, and this we're just going to keep at the 0.104, I believe. I want to see how it looks. Straight up to the tip. That's not bad. Let's go ahead and do smooth shading. Let's see how that looks. Looks pretty good. I might go ahead and do it straight across. Let's go ahead and try that. See how that looks. Yeah, that's okay. Alright. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Okay. Now once again, you can take this into Blender or into Photoshop or whatever and blur out the edges even more if you want. It's entirely up to you. I'm just doing this simply to show off some stuff. And now we're going to add a nick, like right there. And we're going to try to do this all with just right on here. Yeah, right about there is good, but we want to turn this to space, and we need to actually flatten the color out so that I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and give it a nice little kind of a thick scratch right there. Now hopefully, no. Okay, so what we're going to end up doing is we're going to take these two faces here. If I just quickly select these, this one and this one, if we come over here to view, we're going to SXX, and once again I did the minus thing, so I had to bring it back over. So what I did was I pressed S and then XX to lock it to the local X of the faces, which is actually in this direction. And then I hit -1 to flip the scaling completely around. And that actually looks like it might have been a bad idea. Let me try one more thing. SYY -1. No. Whoops. That didn't do it either. Okay, that brings it up over to there. Because what we want is we want to flip this one here so that the scratch is at the same spot. So if we just maybe select this one, X -1, woo, SXX -1. No, all that's doing is basically rotating it 180. No, that's doing the same thing. Transform mirror. Is this what we want? No. But if we rotate that 90, There we go. Got it. Now that scratch is perfectly lined up. We'll probably end up having to do that with the other side, but if you ever have issues with your UVs, that's one way to fix it. It's not the greatest way, I know, but it is a way. So, if we go back to our painting here, zoom back in on the scratch. I don't know why I said it like that. Ignore me. And if we zoom in here, we can start to have some better control over what we're doing. Now I want to bring a bit of lighter color across it there, and then we're going to darken it a lot, and we're going to bring that down to 3. Just go straight down the center of it there. Do it one more time, like so. Bring this up. We want to try and bring this out to more of a point, like so. Let's keep going a little bit. Okay. And if we bring it dark again, kind of blend in. That's not working. Darker, maybe? It's not too bad. Now if we go really bright, we can go along the edge. And this is where I see a lot of painters do their handiwork. We're going to go to 0.52, and we're just going to, whoa, no, 0.052, I'm sorry. And we're just going to lightly brush around the edge of the scratch, kind of fade it out a little bit more. There we go. And then we got a scratch on the blade. Now you can repeat that as many times as you want all the way around the blade. I'm just going to leave it there. And if you look, it's actually mirrored on the other side of the blade. Not bad. So that's a very quick and easy way to do hand-painted textures. It's just the basics. You can get as detailed or as non-detailed as you want. And yeah, basically just go crazy. Let's go ahead and go back into object mode. We're going to go ahead and get rid of this screen here. And I want to turn on the shading again. See how that looks. Not bad at all. If we go back into our camera, give it a quick render. It doesn't appear to have done anything. I believe that is because we need to UV image editor. Go to our sword textures. We need to save this. Save the image. And then we can reload the image. 3D view. And if we render that now, there we go. Not bad at all. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you did. If you really liked it, make sure to subscribe. Once again, I am in a splint at the moment, so this entire thing was done left-handed pretty much. So if you really did enjoy the tutorial, please go ahead and hit the like button, because this took a lot of work to do. And look forward to more in the future. The channel is going to be getting some rebranding here soon. I see rebranding. It's more like graphic updates and things like that. And we're going to be getting into some stuff here in the near future. Possible new computer coming up here in a couple of weeks as well. So things are going to start looking better. We're going to start getting into some new games, some new programs, modeling, animations, stuff like that. All coming to the channel fairly soon. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.